thank Dr. Demos, who you just heard from. He was not only the dean of the students when I came here as a second black professor, but he's also a psychologist. So he took me under his wing and got me a job over in the Child Guides Clinic, which is the biggest child guides clinic in Southern California, right, George? Yeah. Big time. In fact, 2 of the patients are here. They're in their 60s. I won't say who they are. Your mom and daddy have been running around here talking about this. They're here, and they've had productive lives, and so it was wonderful. It was good to see Willie Brown this morning, and I have never picked cotton in Texas. I'm from the Midwest like George Dean. I'd shovel snow, all right. So the precursor to EOP was actually the 1950s, as Willie said this morning. And a few people just happened back into San Francisco State. Don't ask me how we did it. We were from Berkeley to Fillmore, Richmond, on down the peninsula, and one thing and then another. And somehow we got it all together. What Willie didn't say was, my first wife was his girlfriend. We cleaned that up. We got that together. So I landed here at Boston State, and the lower campus wasn't developed then, but I happened to be walking on upper campus, and you know how something hits you? I started looking around and counting, and I counted all morning long, and out of 10,000 students, I think I counted 46 blacks, and 40 of them was athletes. So that left 6 regular students. And then I ran into a couple of Hispanic young people, but they told me they wasn't Mexican American, they was Spanish. Plus they're okay. But anyway, anytime you get less than 1% in a state that was coming into becoming 50% people of color, the math is out of whack. I didn't have to go to the math department. I learned how to count in 2nd grade. Right? So I went to Dr. Demos, as I went to with many of my troubles. He was my mentor. I said, Dr. Demos, we got to change the complexity of this particular place. I know there's some people out there in South Central LA, out there San Pedro, Navarro, and out there in Compton who could compete at this college. I know that. Well, how would you know that? I said, well, look at me and Willie. So he said, okay, so he gave me 65 special admission slots and told me I could do whatever I want with them. Bring them into the campus. We had the financial aid packages ready. But what I figured out was I ran into a lot of young people. Where is Armando Vasquez? He's around here somewhere. Armando was normally admissible. He had a 2.9 GPA on a 3.4-point system. So the ones that were normally admissible, I stuck in one pocket. And the ones that I had to special admit in the other. So out of those 60, we got 200 people. We just sent them for financial aid. Then Dr. Demos went to the dean's meeting around the state college system and told Dr. Dumpke what we was doing. Dr. Dumpke was the chancellor of the Cal State system. So Dr. Dumpke came down and visited us in the old hut we was in. It was raining that day and the ceiling was leaking. I was right under the leak. Right there. Had a nice suit on, you know, the old college system, raining on his ass. So I said, you know, we can make this work at some of these other schools. He said, well, come see me. So Dr. Demos drove me over to his office. And so then they sent me up to Sacramento, not knowing that me and Willie Brown was hooked up from San Francisco State. So Willie was president or chief of one of the educational committees. So he took me all around Sacramento, and people would say, well, what does your research say, Professor? I said, look here, homeboy, I don't need to. Willie was out there take cotton, he said. Now, why would I take him in the office to do some research? I said, I'm one of these kids from the inner city. I'm from the film mold. Not the mold, no mold. And I got through this system. Now, we couldn't be the only two people, teenagers in the United States, who would go to college. You can't tell me that. I said, well, I think, well, maybe I could take a second look. So anyway, through Willie and Senator Harmer, took us all around all the committees. They put me on an department for about a month. And finally, they passed it as a legislative piece and spread it to all the Cal states then, spread it to the JCs, or to the UC system, and it went on from there. But I had no idea it would spread the way it did. And I sit around here this morning, 50 years later. In fact, I saw some of these young people last Saturday, and they was listening to jazz and talking about their grandchildren, and I didn't hear nothing about no revolution. I didn't hear nothing about Malcolm X, the Black Panther Party stuff that almost ran me out of town. Everybody was in the groove. But I think what we were trying to say to America, although we couldn't articulate it at that time, was we wanted to transform higher education in America. Nothing more, nothing less. We wanted an American university system, a California university system that looked like the people in California. If we make up 50% of the population in California, then we should look like 50% of the college population. It's as simple as ABC. And also, I'm looking at Fernando. I've been thinking about Fernando, Dr. Hernandez this morning. And I thought, man, I was getting hip on this multicultural stuff. He said, man, I'm going to take you to the barrio. I said, I've already been over there. He said, no. You ain't been, you ain't seen the bad actors. You know, what you call them dudes? The locos. Bato, yeah. I said, who these Bato dudes, man? I went over there and Wilmington Slam Page saw the Bato. Said, look here, homie, I don't have to interview you. Just lying right here. But it is indeed wonderful. It is indeed wonderful. And I think the last thing I'd like to say is if you have a solid idea, somebody's going to listen. And I want to thank Dr. Demos again and thank you, G.
All right.